Why are you late? Do you think you can come in whenever you want? Mike shouted, glaring at the new employee standing in the doorway. His face was angry and his tone was harsh. I'll have to teach you some respect. But was he ready for what was coming next? The truth behind Lily's disguise. Jude was a hard-working man who owned a trading shop in the lively town of Diya. His shop was famous for its beautiful fabrics, handmade crafts, and rare spices. The colors of the fabrics shone brightly in the sun, and the smell of the spices filled the air. People came from all the nearby villages to see what Jude had to offer. He loved his work and always treated his customers and employees with fairness and kindness. People respected Jude for his honesty and good heart. Over the years, Jude's shop became more and more successful. Every day, the shop was filled with customers, and Jude's business grew. He knew his hard work was paying off, but he also knew it was time to grow his business even further. Jude wanted to open a new branch in a neighboring town called Mari. It was a big decision, but he felt ready. Jude also understood that he couldn't be in two places at once. He needed someone trustworthy to manage his first shop in Diya so that he could focus on the new branch. After thinking carefully, he decided to hire a new CEO to help him run the shop. After careful consideration, Jude hired Mike to manage his Diya branch. Mike seemed perfect for the job. He was experienced, charming, and knew how to handle customers. Jude felt confident he was leaving his beloved shop in good hands. With that, he packed his things and traveled to Mari to start his new venture. Everything seemed to be going smoothly as Jude worked tirelessly to establish his new shop in Mari. Also, Mike, the manager he had hired, sent him regular reports which were positive, showing steady sales and satisfied customers. Jude felt relieved, believing he had left his first shop in capable hands. But soon, the reports began to show a decline in sales and profits. Jude grew concerned and called Mike for an explanation. Each time, Mike had a quick answer. The market is slow, or customers aren't buying much these days. Jude wanted to trust him, but a sense of unease grew with every call. The reasons seemed too simple for such a sharp decline. Still, Jude decided to wait a little longer, hoping things would improve. One night, Jude received an anonymous letter from someone. The letter warned him about Mike's behavior and his unfair treatment towards his employees, especially females. The message didn't give too much details, but showed there was a serious problem, which might be the reason for the business's recent performance. Jude's heart sank. He couldn't believe what he was reading, but he knew he had to find out the whole truth. Jude decided to see for himself what was happening in his shop. He came up with a clever plan. He would disguise himself as a new female employee. He sent a message to Mike, telling him that a new employee named Lily would be joining the shop soon. Then, Jude dressed up in female clothes, wore a long wig, and put on makeup and a pair of glasses. He hoped his disguise would be convincing. The next day, Lily walked into the Diya shop for her first day of work. Jude quickly noticed something strange. Most of the employees were young women who seemed confused and careless. He also saw how nonchalant one of them was with the customer. He tried to talk to some of them and learned that they were hired quickly without much experience. As days went by, Jude watched closely as Mike interacted with the staff. He noticed Mike behaving in a way that made him feel uncomfortable. Mike often made jokes that weren't appropriate and sometimes touched the female workers without permission. Jude's anger grew as he realized that the women felt scared and uncomfortable around Mike. Then, to Jude's surprise, Mike began to show special interest in Lily. Jude played along, knowing this was his chance to gather more evidence. One evening, Mike asked Lily to stay late after work. Jude agreed, his heart pounding with anger but determined to uncover the truth. Inside the office, Mike closed the door and hinted that if Lily wanted to keep her job, she should make him happy. Jude's heart raced. He now knew exactly what was going on. Mike was using his position to take advantage of the female employees. Smiling, Lily promised, "I will think about it." Jude also discovered that Mike had fired many of the original experienced workers who knew how to run the business well. The shop's performance was suffering because Mike had replaced good employees with people who didn't understand the business, all to satisfy his own selfish desires. The next day, Jude arrived at the shop still dressed in his female disguise. He knew that Mike held a daily meeting with the staff each morning to discuss the day's plans. Jude joined the group, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth. When he walked in, Mike was already standing at the front, looking smug and confident. Jude made sure to come in a bit late, knowing it would provoke Mike. As soon as Lily walked through the door, Mike glared at her and raised his voice. "Why are you late? Do you think you can just walk in whenever you like? I'll have to teach you some respect." Jude stood there for a moment, his head slightly bowed, as if contemplating something. Then, with a calm, almost defiant smile, he replied, "I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again." Mike smirked, satisfied with her apparent submission, and turned back to the rest of the staff, ready to continue his daily briefing. But Jude wasn't finished. Slowly, he reached up, his fingers gripping the edge of the wig she wore. With one swift motion, he pulled it off, revealing a shock of short hair underneath. The room went silent. Gasps echoed through the shop as Jude removed his glasses and cleaned his makeup, his true identity coming into focus. Mike's face turned pale. He stared in disbelief as he realized who stood before him. Jude looked around the room and began to speak. "I am Jude, the owner of this shop," he announced. "I disguised myself as Lily to see what was really going on here, and now I see that my trust has been betrayed." The staff murmured among themselves, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Jude turned to Mike, his voice stern. "Good morning, Mike," Jude said, his voice clear and firm. "Or should I say, goodbye. You have disrespected this shop, mistreated the employees, and driven away our loyal customers. You have been hiring people not for their skills, but for your own selfish desires. This is not how I run my business." Mike fell to his knees, his face full of panic. "Please, sir, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for things to get so bad. Give me another chance," he pleaded. But Jude shook his head firmly. "You have not only ruined the reputation of my shop, but also hurt many people along the way. You are fired and please get out." Mike hung his head in shame as he was led out of the room. Once Mike was gone, Jude turned to the remaining staff. "Is there anyone here who tried to stand up against this injustice?" he asked. A young woman named Amina stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears. "I sent you the letter, sir," she admitted softly. "I couldn't stand by and watch him destroy everything you built." Jude smiled warmly and nodded. "Thank you, Amina. You showed courage when others did not. You will stay, and I will promote you to a senior position. You have shown that you care about this shop as much as I do." The news of Jude's actions spread quickly throughout the town. The employees were trained appropriately, the customers returned, and the shop regained its success, and the atmosphere was again filled with hope. After Mike was sacked, his life took a sharp downturn. With no steady job and a tarnished reputation, he struggled to find new work in Diya, where news of his misdeeds had spread quickly. Many of his former colleagues and acquaintances avoided him, unwilling to associate with someone who had abused his position of trust. Desperate, Mike tried to apologize to those he had wronged, but his words were met with skepticism and coldness. As the months passed, he found himself increasingly isolated, forced to confront the consequences of his actions and reflect on the choices that had led him to this point. Jude continued to work hard to open his new shop in Mari, knowing he had done the right thing for his people back at home. And so the story of Jude and his courage was told across the town, reminding everyone of the importance of honesty, fairness, and standing up for what is right. If you were Jude, would you give Mike a second chance? I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. Thank you for watching and see you next time.